You know you're special. You're amazing, right? Have you ever been doing something for so long and you felt overlooked, undervalued, and you thought, Lord, why does it seem like the people who are not as gifted seeming to go faster at a better or quicker pace than me? Why is it taking me so long? And here's what I learned. You have to learn to give up and get out of the comparison trap. What's for you is for you. You see other people in their winning season, but you don't realize what hell they had to go and grow through when nobody was looking. You ever notice that growth goes down before it comes up above the ground? Like, look at a tree, right? A seed has to be planted, and those roots, when that seed is watered, those roots spread out by going down and out, not necessarily shooting up quickly above the ground. We see that even in Mark chapter 4, parable of the sower. And one of those parables, it talks about the seed planted, and it grew so fast, but when the sun was shining on it, it withered and died. It's kind of like what we're in right now in this age with social media. Simply because we look at things like someone's quick success and quick shooting up the chart, and we think, man, they're very impactful, more impactful than me. Why is it that they came in less time, but they're doing more in less time than I have overtime? But here's the thing I've discovered. That's their journey, not yours. You see, I've learned that when you build something from the ground up, the foundation has got to be strong from the root, not necessarily just the fruit. All right. And so I want to encourage you with a word today. I was sharing this yesterday, speaking at a prayer summit, right? And you know how you have your things prepared, you have your lesson and stuff prepared, but I was saying to them yesterday, it's like God plays a game. Holy Spirit plays a game with me. That's what I feel like. Like, okay, let's go this way. I'm like, but wait a minute. What about the notes, right? And then he'll switch it. He switched pretty much the whole thing yesterday. So my notes here, I was about to go up. Maybe like two people were in front of me, and I was writing these down just as what he was giving to me, and it's what he wanted to say. And even in him writing that down, some of the stuff that he gave me to say, I really necessarily didn't say, not that I was being disobedient, but he was flowing so that it was really meeting to the people where they were, right? And so I want to talk with you maybe a few keys from what I shared yesterday, maybe to bless you and encourage you for this week. So I talked about God-given authority versus man-made ambition. God-given authority versus man-made ambition. You see, we have so many tools today that it almost can seem like so easy to just build something without consulting God, because you have the AI, because you have the internet, you have all these tools. But here's the thing, even having all those tools, that doesn't necessarily mean it's effective if God hasn't blown or God hasn't breathed on what it is that you're saying or doing. And what I find is we chase other people and what they're doing, and we call it what we're supposed to do, when actuality, we're operating out of man-made ambition by chasing what other people are doing rather than finding out our God-given identity and the authority he gave us to operate in the earth. Okay? Of course, God-given identity and God-given authority are not the same thing, but they flow together. God-given identity is who you are. That's your being. Like, that's your fingerprint, right? But God-given authority is your gift. Like, what is it that you've been gifted to do? What's the key that you have that unlocks or gives you access into the hearts and minds of the people who you are called to impact, right? And so here's the thing I've discovered, that if I don't know my true God-given identity, like a set of keys, I don't know, or I cannot identify which key unlocks what door, right? So we can have the right identity, but we can try to operate with the wrong keys. And that's why we can get frustrated, because we have the becoming part, but what we don't unlock because we're trying to use someone else's keys to unlock what God gave us. Doesn't work like that. You have to know who God made you are so you can recognize the authority, the gift he gave you to unlock what he prepared for you. Because what he has for you is not just for you, but it's for other people connected and to be blessed by and through you and your obedience. All right. So I'm going to say a few things. When we understand our authority, our God-given authority, we're positioned to flow in his assignment. And when I'm talking about assignment, I'm talking about who you're called to. You're not called to everyone, but you are called to someone. Who are the people that keep coming to you and they're attracted to you, but you always have something for them that leaves them better than when they came or before the conversation that you had with them. Yeah. And then also we did say this authority is a key. It gives you access to unlock what's been prepared. Right. And here's the thing. Authority. Oh, here's the key. Here's another one. Authority doesn't beg, but it does release. When you understand authority, you're not asking for acceptance. You're not asking for approval. When I talk about authority, when we walk in authority that God gave us, now we're yielded under God's authority. And I believe God connects you to someone who could be operating at a greater level of authority that you can learn and grow from to help position the authority he gave you to reach who you're called to. Right? So authority releases, but it does not beg for permission. That doesn't mean be disrespectful. That doesn't mean treat people unjustly or treat people wrongly. No, but when I talk about authority releases, it doesn't beg. You're not living life trying to get approval from people about what God already been told you to do. Okay? You know what he told you to do. You know what book he told you to write. You know the gift. When you use it, lives are changed and transformed. You know it. But here's the thing. The enemy don't want you to know it. He wants you to operate as a victim, not a victor. And when you don't understand your authority, you borrow somebody else's that you're not authorized to. And so now you wonder why certain things don't unlock like you know they should. It's because you're trying to take somebody else's formula, but you're not really looking and trusting God to build from the blueprint he gave you, from the authority he gave you. For instance, if I'm playing on the keyboard, I know there's an authority God gave me because it's a prophetic Davidic anointing that atmospheres change. God works and plays through me, so atmospheres change, so people can think clearly. People can receive what they've been struggling to think through, whether it's a big problem. I don't care whether you're a CEO, whether you're a pastor, whatever vision that you have, you know you're trying to adjust and you're trying to navigate through all this crazy turbulence we're dealing with all this change, with all the AI, with all the great things that are going on. You're trying to navigate, still be true to you without copying or compromising the real you. And so when I come in the room by the grace of God and play prophetically like David did for Saul, peace happens. Peace is released. People can think. People can clearly understand, wow, this is what I've been puzzled with for the last few months, the last few years. But in this particular moment, God gave me clarity to know what it is. You see what I mean? So I don't beg when I'm in position because authority positions next. When authority positions you, you don't have to beg somebody else to be like, will you accept me? Like some of us are doing that, waiting on agencies and organizations to be like, I need your money. I need your approval in order for me to move on what God told me. But what I've discovered is that when God gives you a vision, He's already provided the provision. Now, who he may use, you may not know, or you may not even understand. You may not even have a clue. And here's the thing. Sometimes we limit God to who we're familiar with. And we think that the people that we're friends with or we're cool with, that's who God has assigned, or the channel that he's going to use and work through to provide the miracle, to provide or release the resources. No, I found that God can use complete strangers. Now, I do believe in building community. Yes, I have a pastor. Yes, I'm connected. But because I'm connected now, and because now I understand my giving makes room for my living, now it opens up the door for somebody else I didn't even know that was paying attention. And God used them, and it was quicker with them than the people I was trying to twist and convince and be like, y'all got to accept this. You see, let me stick a pin right here and say this. Sometimes we build things. Yes, I'm all for community. Yes, in the local community, right? But sometimes we're trying to build something great with people who are familiar, and they're not really ready to take that next step. And then we get mad when they don't take it or they don't see it. Well, the truth of the matter is, if they saw it, they would understand. But since they don't see it, rather than waiting on their approval, why don't you just trust God and let him lead you to the people he's already prepared that are ready to take what he gave you and help launch and catapult it forward? Have you ever heard of the phrase, strangers have your money? Strangers have your resources? Sometimes we're trying to get uncommon favor from common folk. And I'm not saying God does belittle anybody, but sometimes the uncommon favor you're looking for is somebody you have no idea who's looking. Again, authority releases. It doesn't beg for approval. Now, authority, here's a good one. Authority, you hear power and authority, right? Power and authority and power. Well, here's the truth about that. Authority is the framework that contains power. But when you chase power, you miss true authority. That's the thing about dictators. They chase the power to bully the people, but they really don't understand authority. And because they don't understand authority, they have to manipulate the people with fear. Because when you understand authority, you're not intimidated by the people you lead. In fact, you empower the people you lead to work autonomously, to work and flow in their best gift. I don't have time to hate on you and how great you are. In fact, if you do something better than me, I celebrate you. Why? Because 1 can take 1,000 to flight, 2 can take 10,000 to flight. In other words, what you do better than me and what I do better than you, when we connect, now we can make a greater impact rather than competing against one another, trying to hate on one another. I want to pull you down so I can go up, and you want to do the same thing, vice versa. Well, why not both of us collaborate? And now we both can make a greater impact that can change lives and the communities and people we're called to. So when you don't understand power, or when you don't understand authority, you will chase power. Understand me, precious people. Because what I'm finding out, because I understand authority, and because I'm yielded to authority, God can flow supernaturally in my life. I've seen things happen in the month of March, even in April, that because I said yes to what he authorized me to do, not only did he bless the works of the hands, but even things I didn't look for, he released it. I'm talking about, I'm not going into too big detail. My pastor's on here, Superintendent Stanley, but I'm going to sit here and tell you that when I said yes to God and God used him to push me because I was comfortable where I was. But when I said yes to God, something that was held up for 20 plus years out of ignorance that I didn't even know was released. Notice I said 20 plus years. Yeah. See, authority positions. Write that down. Authority positions. Oh my gosh. Authority positions you to see. See, some of us have been in spots too long that kept our authority ignorant and restrained. And because of that, you ain't growing and flowing like God wants you to. And so you're concerned about what you're going to lose out of the familiarity of that relationship, not realizing that when you let go, you're going to find out the very thing you've been praying for is on the other side of your hesitancy. So God will bless you not only with the works of your hands, but you learn to exchange labor for favor. Not saying you don't work, but there's a difference in working by grace and working by struggle. Now I'm going to say this right here. Authority flows with God. It doesn't fight God. Authority flows with God. It does not fight God. I see you, Donna Mac. I owe you a call. Authority flows with God. It does not fight God. In other words, you got experts. They're going to tell you they're doing their job, right? They're doing what they know to do. But here is the truth, ladies and gentlemen. When you flow in God's authority, God releases what you have been struggling for years to chase, or what you knew when you get in alignment with his assignment. God releases what you thought God was holding out on you for. No, God wasn't holding out on you. No, God was waiting on you and I. We wasn't waiting on him. And here's how I know this. When you flow in God's authority, here's what happens. This is how you know it's God. I'm going to give you the cue. I'm going to give you the secret. When you flow in God's authority, the prayers you've been praying, Lord, why are you taking so long? Why are you holding out on me, God? Watch what God does. When you yield to God and get in alignment with his assignment and the authority he gave you, the things that you prayed for and you thought he didn't hear you, all of a sudden, things release. And this what you're going to say to God. You're going to be like, God, slow down. And you know what he's going to tell you back? Why I thought you was ready. You see, see, when we let go of our hustling and grinding in our own strength and get positioned with his authority, now we can flow. Now what he gave us can unlock and release and unleash. But you know, when you make gurus your God, when you follow all the gurus, I'm not saying don't read certain stuff, but when you put more weight on what they say, when you put more weight on the experts, more than on what God has given you, now you diminish what God wanted to develop. And I'm talking from someone who I love people. I want the best for people. But sometimes I gave to my own detriment. I gave to my own detriment because I wanted to keep the peace rather than be confrontational. But I'm confrontational today. Because when you hold a cat in a corner for so long, that cat was going to do one of two things. It's going to get smaller or it's going to come out lashing. And the truth of the matter is, ladies and gentlemen, you keep playing small long enough, and I'm telling you what's going to happen. You're going to get tired and you're going to be like, I've had enough of this. Yeah, you will. So my encouragement to you today, I get strategies from men. I get insights from men. But hear me by the Spirit of God. Yes, take what they say, but take what they say and give it to God. Or even while they're talking, if God ain't breathing on what they're saying. See, here's the thing. Sometimes the experts don't get it because guess what? God gave you the vision, not them. And if you're not careful and if you don't know who you are, what's going to end up happening is you're going to be a cheaper copy of that expert. But ladies and gentlemen, this is why I believe in frameworks more than scripts. Because if I copy your script, I missed the framework that he gave me. And what I just told my pastor in the conversation just now was that framework, that authority is not restriction. Authority is boundaries that help you flow in the grace and authority and gift that God gave you. Some of us are resisting authority because we think it's restriction. No, it's a blessing. Here we go, Superintendent. My God from heaven. So, God-given authority versus man-made ambition. I can testify to this. I walked away from something. I walked away from a company. Not that they're bad. I walked away from them. Why? Because we're no longer aligned. That's not what God assigned me to do. And I ain't ashamed to say it. There's going to come a time in your life when you're going to have to make a decision. You're going to have to decide whether or not are you going to obey God or you going to obey man. That's your choice. You're going to have to make that decision. So what are you willing to do? Are you going to stay trying to compromise with people, or are you going to be bold enough to walk in that authority that God gave you? I hope what I said today blessed you. But I had to come on just for a moment and give this encouraging word for the week. Simply because this is what was needed for somebody. And if that's you, let me know in the comments if this blessed you. If you haven't subscribed to our channel on our YouTube channel, go there. You can put in like at the Identity King. I'll put it in the comments. Put at the Identity King, or you can go Rico, RICCO, right? The same bald and bearded guy. You'll see that. Go in there and subscribe because that's where this video is going, right? Because it's only so many days that you have available on Facebook or social media. I think here on Facebook it's 30 days, right? So I pray something was said today to be a blessing to you. And I look forward to the next time when I come share something else with you. It's always an honor. I'm glad it blessed you. Remember, stay encouraged. And remember, it's your season, but you got to stay focused. All kind of distractions are coming right now. But look, if you stay focused, stay faithful, watch God flourish you even in the midst of the confusion, even in the midst of the chaos. Until next time, God bless you. Love you. Bye.